Hey, what's up? It's That Weekend Warrior. If you didn't know, I'm a very big Ninja Turtles fan.
Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtle stuff, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Since we're right around the corner for the next Ninja Turtles movie, Mutant Mayhem, coming out next week, I figured this is a good time to talk about my favorite turtle things. I figured the best place to start when talking about Ninja Turtles will be the toys. And oh boy, there are so many toys, and they're amazing. When that cartoon dropped in '87, it was all any of my friends and I could talk about. I remember going to school the next day, and it was like, did you see the thing? I saw the thing. The thing is awesome. And we needed the toys. It was love at first sight. And my favorites, of course, will be my original Ninja Turtles. I was lucky to have the soft head ones that my parents got, and still have them to this day, except for Raph. Unfortunately, when I finally got my turtles out of storage a number of years ago, I was taking them all out and I was showing my girlfriend at the time, now wife, the turtles. And I was moving Raph around and his leg broke off. And I was so crushed. I think it was the first time that, my wife saw me like almost to the point of tears, especially for something like I broke a turtle. And what I was also kind of crushed about is, like, one, it was the original, but two, also at the time, like, I wasn't really toy hunting, and I didn't know where I could go replace this turtle. And so she found a shop. I'm going to give another shout out to Echo-Based Collectibles here in Orlando, Florida. And she came home and she was like, hey, I got you something. I'm like, okay. And I opened the bag out, and there was Raphael. So my brothers were united once more. So I have lots and lots of turtle toys, but a few others that I want to spotlight are the rock and roll turtles. This is a new addition to my collection. I picked up one for Father's Day, and once I had it, I was like, I need to get the rest. That's one of the pros and cons of being a Ninja Turtle fan and collector is, like, you buy one, you're like, well, I need all four brothers. Some others, I love the Super7 Ultimates series. When those went up for pre-order a couple years ago, I jumped on that. I snagged the Kid Robot little vinyl toys. Those are super cool. I also just got my hands on the new Mirage set that just dropped. And one of my favorite things that came out from NECA are the Baby Turtles.
Aw, Baby Turtles.
How can you not love these toys? They're awesome. And I bet every time you pick one up, you do the same thing I do. You start bouncing around saying, radical, radical. I remember when they announced they were doing a live-action Ninja Turtle movie and just losing it as a kid. I was like, how? How can you do this? Then also, as a kid, finding out that Jim Henson was doing all the creature work, and immediately, it's going to be amazing. This is the gold standard, in my opinion, of what set the tone of, like, how to do a comic book to live action movie. They definitely married the comical of the cartoon with the Mirage in this, and it's one of the best comic book movies ever made. I watched it numerous times in the theater. I couldn't wait for the VHS to come out, which I still have a copy of today. And one of my favorite martial artists of all time, Ernie Reyes Jr., portrayed Donatello. Wasn't his voice, but he did all of the moves. Now I'm about to ruffle some feathers with my second favorite Ninja Turtle movie of all time, and that is the 2016 movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Okay, I'm just gonna get my negatives out first. Was not a fan of Megan Fox's April O'Neil. Just the casting didn't work for me. Also, I think Steve Amell was awesome. I loved everything he did in Arrow, but he was not unhinged enough and a little too pretty to be Casey Jones. I mean, if you read Casey in the comics, even in the cartoon, he was almost like monosyllabic of like, ugh, the whole time. So it just didn't really work for me. Why do I like this one so much? I mean, literally, it's the 80s cartoon come to life. We got a live-action Bebop and Rocksteady, finally. And they were funny and bumbling and fantastic. And we also finally got Krang and the Technodrome, even if it was short. Also, the whole car chase scene to capture Shredder was amazing. Whether you want to call it the Tartarugo Brothers truck or the Tactical Garbage Truck, I think that's what they called the toy, it's always going to be the party wagon to me. That whole sequence was rad. I mean, Nunchuckus Giganticus, Raph jumping out the back, taking out guys on bikes, and then, them like shooting the manhole covers. It was a fantastic scene. Lastly, I will say that Noel Fisher's version of Mikey was the absolute MVP for this movie. You could tell that he really cared about this role and was so happy to be playing this character. Mikey was hilarious, and in my opinion, the best version we've ever had of Michelangelo in a live action format. But before we had Ninja Turtle movies, we had the Ninja Turtle cartoons. There's been multiple iterations of this over the years, but by default, because it was the first time ever seeing it, it's the original ones that came out in 1987. I mean, the first encounter with the Foot Clan, and you see Michelangelo jump in the air yelling, "Let's rock," swinging his nunchucks, pretty much guaranteed that this cartoon was going to be awesome. And because of that, I didn't really watch the others until a couple years ago when I decided to sit down and watch the 2012 Nickelodeon series, and I love it. It is amazing. I really like this series. I think it's fantastic. I had a great time watching it. I've actually rewatched this a bunch. They did such a good job bringing in Mirage Studios storylines and the Archie comics and putting them together, meanwhile creating something fresh and new. We get a live action role play turtle episode. They LARP in the sewers. One of the big things for me is the fact that they are ninjas in this. They actually use their weapons, and it's some of the best fight sequences in any of the cartoons. I didn't really mind some of the character redesigns, nor did I really hate on the fact that they de-aged April O'Neil and Casey Jones. I mean, let's be honest, it really makes more sense that they're teenagers hanging out with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I like the fact that they didn't make this overly comical or super slapsticky like some of the episodes they did in the 1980s series, but there was real drama, real character growth and progression. Heck, there were real stakes involved at times. And lastly, the intro song to this is an absolute banger. One of my favorite topics when it comes to Ninja Turtles is all the music, from the iconic theme song to Ninja Rap by Vanilla Ice from Secret of the Ooze.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go! Go Ninja, go Ninja, go!
I was so stoked to get copies of TMNT and Secret of the Ooze on vinyl. But an area I think that Ninja Turtles shines the most is in their video game music. Turtles in Time is by far my favorite of all the game soundtracks, and I recently picked up a record called Let's Kick Shell from Enjoy the Toons Records that has a selection of their songs. But my current favorite is the soundtrack for Shredder's Revenge. When the pre-order of this went live from Katana Records, I immediately jumped on it. T-Lopes really captured the vibe and the whole sound of those early arcade games and the whole 16-bit era, as well as putting together a list of some iconic musicians to contribute. You have Mike Patton singing the theme song, and my personal favorite is Raekwon the Chef and Ghostface Killah doing a song called We Ain't Came to Lose. So when you talk about Ninja Turtles, you have to talk about the comics. That's where it started. For me, my introduction, like I said, was the cartoon in 1987. But there's such a rich history. There's so much that has come out through the last maybe 40 years next year that it's hard to narrow down just certain sections. So what I'm going to talk to you about are two of my favorite things, because it was really the first two main Ninja Turtle books that I got. So number one, I got Toto Adventures, the Archie comics, and this was off a spinner rack. I still have it to this day. I've read this numerous times. And also, it led me to my first ever comic book store visit. I don't remember the name of it. It was in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And my dad bought me not one, but all four of the first pressings. So what these are is the original stories that Eastman and Laird wrote that were in black and white, and they were colorized. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first time they were colorized and put into graphic novel. I have all four volumes. And this was a very different Turtles. There's numerous books out there. I love the stuff that IDW has been doing. The whole NECA story is really good. If you haven't read it, definitely check that out. The Last Ronin is amazing. That book is so darn good. Shout out to Kevin Eastman and to Ben Bishop. I think Ben Bishop is probably the Padawan to the Kevin Eastman in the situation. And I'm so happy that we still have Turtles today and we have comics today. And I'm very excited to see what happens next with Mutant Mayhem and what might lead down to more stories and more Ninja Turtles. And that about does it. It was really hard, to be honest with you, to try and narrow down some of my favorite Ninja Turtle things because I love it so much. I could talk about it for hours. But I'm interested to hear what your favorite Ninja Turtle things are. Games, music, comics, movies, so on. Please leave those in the comments below. As always, I appreciate you watching. Please subscribe. Click the bell to get notified when I drop new content. Also, you can follow me on social media. And until next time, be good.